You may not realize it, but right now, as your eyes move across these words, something very subtle and very important is happening. Tiny muscles behind the eyes are contracting and relaxing. Moisture is evaporating and replenishing. Pigments inside the retina are burning energy to protect your vision. All of this is happening quietly, constantly, without you noticing, yet this delicate system is under more pressure today than at any other time in history. Screens, artificial light, fast-paced environments, late nights, and stress have created a level of eye strain our ancestors never had to endure. And even though the eyes are remarkably resilient, they depend heavily on something many modern diets lack: nutrients from leafy plants. Hi, Dr. Mandell, and today I want to share something extraordinarily simple, something supported by research, grounded in nature, and trusted in traditional healing. A blend of 5 natural leaves that nourish the eyes from the inside out. This remedy does not rely on chemicals, machinery, or complicated routines. It's simply food. Food used with intention. Over the years, I have watched many people in my wellness group introduce these simple leaves into their daily meals, and the changes have been both steady and deeply encouraging. Some began with tired, dry eyes that seemed to burn every evening after a day of work. Others struggled with bright light, feeling almost as if their eyes were constantly straining to keep up with the modern world. Some simply felt their vision had become duller, less comfortable, or less resilient than it once was. They were not looking for miracles, only relief. As the weeks passed, the feedback that returned to me carried a quiet consistency. People who had dealt with dryness for months noticed their eyes staying moist for longer. Those who had struggled with burning sensations found that the evenings no longer brought discomfort. Many shared that light no longer felt as harsh as before, and that reading or using screens no longer left their eyes aching. Several described an unexpected sense of clarity, saying things appeared cleaner around the edges or that their eyes felt more awake in the morning. What touched me most was not any dramatic shift, but the simple comfort that returned to people's daily lives. One woman mentioned she could look at her computer for longer without feeling drained. Another told me her eyes no longer watered uncontrollably when she stepped into bright sunlight. A gentleman who had struggled with nighttime dryness shared that he no longer woke with that gritty, irritated feeling that had bothered him for so long. These improvements did not come from medication or machines. They came from nourishment, small spoonfuls of leaves added to soups, pour, teas, smoothies, and warm evening meals. And while each person experienced their own unique journey, the pattern became undeniable. When the body receives the pigments, minerals, and antioxidants it is quietly needed, the eyes respond with gratitude. They become calmer, clearer, and far more comfortable. This is why I continue to trust these natural leaves. Not because of theory or tradition alone, but because I've watched real people month after month regain comfort and clarity simply by restoring what the modern diet had slowly taken away. And if you're genuinely curious to discover which leaves have helped so many in my wellness groups, tap like on this video so it reaches others who need this gentle reminder too. This is why a certain blend of 5 simple leaves works so harmoniously together. Each one brings its own quiet strength. One nourishes the deeper pigments of the retina, acting almost like an internal shield against the harsh light our eyes face every day. Another supports the delicate tissues that keep the eyes moist, clear, and comfortable. A third feeds the tired retinal cells with natural compounds that your vision depends on. One leaf calms the inflammation stirred up by screens and artificial light, letting the eyes finally breathe again. And the last one relaxes the tiny muscles around the eyes, improving circulation so nutrients can flow freely. When these 5 are combined daily, they create a gentle, natural armor for the eyes, protecting, soothing, and renewing without forcing the body in any direction. They simply work in harmony with the way your eyes were designed to function. And very soon I will show you exactly which leaves create this remarkable effect. But for now, just know this. Your eyes have not been forgotten by nature. Scientists have now documented many of the changes people notice when they begin consuming these leaves regularly. Retinal imaging has confirmed that pigments from leafy greens accumulate directly in the macula, making the retina more resilient to glare and ultraviolet light. Plant antioxidants help reduce inflammation in the delicate tissues around the eyelids and tear glands, easing dryness and burning sensations. Vitamin-rich leaves improve the function of the tear glands themselves, restoring moisture and soothing irritation on the corneal surface in low-light environments, people often notice clearer vision because plant pigments naturally enhance contrast sensitivity. What is most striking is that all of these effects come not from synthetic pills or medical treatments, but from simple leaves that humans have used for nourishment for thousands of years. When we introduced this blend into our wellness group, we did not treat it as a supplement, but as a natural part of everyday meals. People sprinkled the blended leaves into soups and curries, stirred them into porridge, added them to smoothies, or steeped them into warm teas. Over time, the changes were unmistakable. Because we keep simple health logs, we were able to observe patterns clearly. Within only a few weeks, 9 out of 10 participants reported meaningful improvement. These were not dramatic overnight transformations, but steady, reliable progress. Although each person's experience was unique, the overall pattern was unmistakable. This consistency aligns beautifully with published research showing how plant nutrients slowly accumulate and strengthen the eye's internal structures. If you are ready to begin this journey with me, just as so many others already have, type leaves in the comments so that it shows me that you have taken an interest in protecting your vision. Let's look at why this method works so beautifully. Because the answer becomes clear the moment we understand how the eyes are designed. They receive a direct, rich blood supply, which means any nutrient you give them can reach their tissues with surprising speed. The protective pigments the eyes love begin to accumulate within weeks when supplied regularly. Natural sources of vitamin A refill the body's reserves almost immediately. And certain plant compounds can calm inflammation in just a few days. Because the retina and cornea rely on constant nourishment, the eyes often respond more quickly than nearly any other organ in the body. This is precisely why the blend I am about to share with you is so powerful. Each leaf targets a different need, a different weakness, a different doorway into the eye's recovery. And when they come together, they create a simple, everyday support system that the eyes recognize instantly. Let's talk about these 5 leaves and how nature wove them into such perfect harmony. And while many people wonder whether eating just one leaf would be enough, the truth becomes clearer when we look at how the eye is structured. Different pigments settle in different regions, which is why no single plant can do the entire job. This is where our blend of 5 leaves comes in, each one tending to a different part of the ocular system. Spinach rich in lutein and zeaxanthin feeds the central retina where sharp vision is formed. Moringa, with its generous vitamin A content, supports the tear ducts and the surface tissues that keep the eyes moist and comfortable. Curry leaves provide carotenoids that nourish the peripheral retinal tissues, the areas responsible for motion and side vision. Tulsi calms the inflammatory pathways that screens and artificial light often disturb. And mint improves microirculation, helping nutrients travel more freely to every corner of the eye. Taken together, these 5 leaves form a gentle, natural symphony, nourishing the entire ocular system, not just one part. This is the true beauty of plant diversity and the reason so many people begin noticing comfort and clarity returning far sooner than they expected. And you might be wondering, if you already know the 5 leaves, why keep watching? Because knowing the leaves is only the beginning. What truly transforms eyesight is how you prepare them when you take them, and the one simple mistake that can cancel out half of their benefit. Most people use these leaves incorrectly without even realizing it, and that's why they never see the full results. So please stay with me till the end to achieve the clarity that your eyes have been looking for. Modern science has begun to reveal something that natural healers have quietly understood for generations. The eyes are incredibly sensitive to what we nourish ourselves with. They are small organs, but their nutritional demands are surprisingly high. At every moment, the eyes are filtering light, generating pigments, managing moisture, adjusting focus, and interpreting the world around us. They are active even when we sleep, maintaining the delicate tissues that allow us to wake with clear vision. And while they work tirelessly, they depend heavily on compounds that are found almost exclusively in the plants we consume, especially the leaves. Research into ocular nutrition has shown that the eyes concentrate antioxidants more densely than nearly any other tissue in the human body. This makes sense when we consider how much light enters the eye every day and how much oxygen the retina must process. Both of these create oxidative stress, tiny sparks of wear and tear that the body must neutralize. Spinach, for instance, contains high levels of 2 remarkable pigments, lutein and zeaxanthin. Scientists have discovered that these pigments accumulate at the very center of the retina, the macula, where they act like a natural filter for blue light. They absorb wavelengths that can damage the photoreceptors and improve the clarity of the images we see. This isn't folk wisdom or speculation. Retinal imaging studies show these pigments collecting inside the eye exactly as expected. When the diet is low in green leaves, those protective pigments thin out. When people increase their intake, the pigments strengthen again. It's beautifully simple. Moringa works in a different way. While spinach provides pigments for the retina, moringa provides the vitamin that supports the cornea and tear glands. Vitamin A deficiency is one of the leading causes of dry and irritated eyes around the world. The modern diet, despite being abundant in calories, is often surprisingly low in natural vitamin A. Moringa leaves are one of the richest, most bioavailable sources of this nutrient. Clinical studies show that moringa can restore vitamin A stores effectively, improving the surface of the eye and supporting healthy tear production. This is why so many people notice relief from burning or dryness when they incorporate it into their routine. Curry leaves add another layer of support. Most people enjoy their flavor, but rarely think of them as a nutrient source. Yet chemical analysis reveals that curry leaves are densely packed with carotenoids, some of the same protective pigments found in brightly colored vegetables. These pigments circulate to the retina and help reduce the oxidative load created by light exposure and long hours of screen use. Curry leaves also have a gentle stabilizing effect on blood sugar, and this indirectly benefits the eyes. Even mild fluctuations in blood sugar can lead to temporary blurriness as the lens shifts shape. Supportive herbs help minimize that strain. Tulsi is one of the most widely studied herbs in traditional medicine, and its influence on inflammation has been documented repeatedly. Behind much of the discomfort people feel in their eyes, whether it manifests as itching, watering, or sensitivity, is a layer of microscopic inflammation affecting the lids, the tear ducts, or the vessels behind the eye. Tulsi's natural compounds help calm these processes. Modern studies have identified reductions in inflammatory markers after regular use of Tulsi, and this aligns with what people often describe a sense of coolness, comfort, and reduced irritation. Tulsi also supports gentle circulation, helping nutrients reach the deeper tissues of the eye more effectively. Mint contributes in a different but equally important way. Its cooling nature is not simply a sensory experience. Mint contains compounds that help relax the tiny muscles around the eyes and improve microcirculation in those surrounding tissues. Herbal research has shown that mint extracts can relieve tension headaches and soothe overstimulated nerves. Many people describe their eyes as feeling hot or tired after long hours of work. Mint helps counter that feeling. It refreshes the tissues, allowing the eyes to release the burden of strain they have accumulated through the day. When we consider the modern world, it becomes clear why the eyes struggle. Humans were not designed for constant close-range focusing on bright screens, nor for long hours under artificial LED lighting. The pace of life is faster. The demands on attention are greater, and environmental stresses are more intense than they were even 1 or 2 generations ago. The delicate tissues of the eyes must adapt to conditions they were not shaped for. And while the demands have increased, the average nutrient intake has decreased. So much of the modern diet is refined, processed, or stripped of the pigments and minerals that once formed the foundation of our nutrition. The eye, which relies on those pigments more than any other organ, ends up undernourished. This is why adding leaves, simple natural leaves, is so powerful. They restore what has gradually fallen away. The beauty of using whole leaves rather than isolated supplements is that plants carry a spectrum of nutrients that work together. A pill may contain lutein, but it will lack the chlorophyll, magnesium, folate, and dozens of smaller compounds that help the body absorb and utilize those pigments effectively. Food-based nutrients tend to be better absorbed because the body recognizes them as part of a complete structure. And when several leaves are blended together, each supports the pathways the others rely on. Moringa's vitamin A helps the eye surface absorb spinach's pigments. Tulsi's anti-inflammatory effects allow nutrients to reach the retina with greater efficiency. Mint's cooling effect reduces the oxidative load that carotenoids work to neutralize. There is another factor many people overlook: circulation. The eyes have a rich but delicate blood supply. The retina in particular depends on a continuous stream of oxygen and nutrients. If circulation is sluggish, even slightly, the eyes begin to feel fatigued. The plant compounds in Tulsi and mint have been shown in studies to improve microcirculation, helping oxygen reach the deeper layers of the eye more readily. This is one reason people often describe a brighter or lighter feeling once they begin consuming these leaves daily. Tear production is another essential aspect of eye comfort, and it too responds remarkably well to plant nourishment. The tear film is composed of 3 layers, an oil layer, a water layer, and a mucus layer. If any one of these is disrupted, the eyes become irritated, dry, or blurry. Vitamin A directly supports the mucus layer while antioxidants protect the oil-producing glands from inflammation. Research has shown that diets rich in natural carotenoids improve the stability of the tear film, reducing evaporation and increasing comfort throughout the day. This aligns with the improvements often seen when people consume moringa or curry leaves consistently. Science also reveals that oxidative stress is one of the primary drivers of visual decline. Every time the eyes are exposed to bright light, reactive molecules are produced. Antioxidants from leafy plants neutralize these molecules before they damage the retina. The pigments from spinach and curry leaves are uniquely suited for this role, positioning themselves directly where light enters and where damage would occur. When all of these pieces come together, the picture becomes clear. Each leaf offers a different kind of support, and together they create a comprehensive system of nourishment that the eyes respond to deeply and reliably. And it is this combination, this natural harmony, that explains why so many people begin to notice improvement when they incorporate these leaves into their diet daily. Their experience is not mystical or coincidental. It is a reflection of how brilliantly the human body uses the materials nature provides. As people began using this blend of leaves daily, one of the most remarkable things we observed was how consistently the body responded. It didn't matter whether someone was young or older, working at a desk, or spending their days outdoors, using screens for long hours, or reading for pleasure. The relief appeared steadily, gently, in almost the same pattern. Over time, as we recorded feedback across several months, it became clear that 9 out of 10 individuals experienced some degree of improvement. To understand why such a high proportion of people respond, we need to look closely at how the eyes are structured. The eyes thrive when certain nutrients accumulate in specific tissues, and nearly all of those nutrients come from plants. This isn't poetic language. It is biological truth. The macula, the cornea, the tear glands, and even the tiny capillaries behind the eye rely heavily on pigments, minerals, and antioxidants that are derived from dark leafy greens and medicinal herbs. When these nutrients are lacking, the eye compensates as best as it can, but eventually the strain becomes noticeable. When the nutrients are restored, the tissues respond with gratitude. The first major shift people experience often relates to dryness. Modern research shows that more than half of adults living in industrialized environments suffer from some degree of evaporative dry eye, where the tears evaporate faster than they should. When inflammation affects the delicate glands in the eyelids, the tear film becomes unstable. A few micronutrients delivered through plant leaves, particularly vitamin A and carotenoids, help restore the stability of the tear film. That is why people practicing this leaf blend often notice their eyes remain moist for longer, feel less gritty, and carry far less burning at night. Another frequent improvement is in light sensitivity. Many people quietly endure discomfort when walking outdoors or sitting under bright lights, assuming it is simply a sign of aging or tiredness. Yet, research on lutein and zeaxanthin shows that these plant pigments absorb excess light and reduce the intensity that reaches the retinal cells. When the macula is well supplied with these pigments, the eyes become calmer and less reactive to brightness. This reduction in light sensitivity is not symbolic or anecdotal. It has been measured in clinical settings. The eyes literally absorb less disruptive light and produce fewer oxidative molecules in the presence of abundant plant pigments. Some people notice that the world appears clearer around the edges. This description is deeply meaningful. The retina's photoreceptors, particularly those related to contrast sensitivity, respond strongly to antioxidant compounds. Research suggests that when oxidative stress is lowered and retinal pigments are replenished, the visual processing of edges, shadows, and low light conditions improves. People may not always articulate this using scientific language, but they feel the difference. Reading becomes smoother. Driving at night feels easier. Screens no longer shock the eyes with harsh edges. Another reason such a large proportion of people experience change is related to circulation. The eyes have one of the richest microvascular networks in the body, but they are also highly sensitive to stagnation. Even slight reductions in blood flow can leave the eyes feeling tired, heavy, or dull. Modern lifestyles, sitting for long hours, stress, poor posture, and dehydration can all affect circulation. Herbs like tulsi and mint contain compounds that support gentle, healthy blood flow through the tiniest vessels. When oxygen and nutrients move freely through these pathways, the eyes become brighter and more comfortable. Many individuals do not realize how much of their discomfort is tied to sluggish circulation until that circulation improves. Inflammation is another hidden factor. Most people associate